Canada.
Put on a suit, drink water, don't drink and drive. Hey, man, call your mother.
It means nothing. It means nothing.
Nah, they lying to you. It's about the money.
Now you're more fluent.
Yo.
I don't know. This is new.
Mm-hmm.
This is new. I need to ask somebody. Can you hear us in the chat? Because as you can see, we live and direct.
Tony is right here. I'm here. We are in the house. I'm here. So
no kids, no people. We don't have to be quiet. We can scream.
Yep.
Yo, FIFA boy, can you hear us? Can you hear us?
He said yes. Yeah, left my answer. Said yes.
There we go. Okay, so as long as the camera works and the microphone works, we hot. So this is Fluent and Chill. I have this, but I don't know what any of these buttons do. So can I experiment?
Oh boy. Here we
Can
go.
I? Do you mind if I?
No,
Because I don't know. They might have some sounds.
No,
What do they have?
No. Let's find.
Yeah. I don't. These are all random. These are all random. These are all random sounds that I have no idea if they're going to work or not.
Right.
So I'm in Florida. In case you were wondering what the hell's going on, I'm in Florida. The chat is about a mile away from me, and I don't have binoculars, but I'm going to try to read as much of the chats as we can. If we get to super chats, please send those through as well. I'm going to I might even go off camera for a second and start messing. Oh, I can do it from my phone.
You can do it from. That's why I picked it up, Tony.
Oh,
Yes,
I didn't realize. I might go do it. I might go do it on my phone.
You can do it on your phone.
I finally pulled up to Florida. I've been in Florida, so Fluent and Chill. Show it to there. There's a,
Be in effect.
go get your merch. We have a lot of things to talk about, obviously. But first, let me say thank you to all the people in Florida who've been very, very welcoming.
Word.
Thank you, sir. We had some time. We did a lot of fun things. But there's a lot of basketball to talk about.
It is, Tom.
It
is, especially this time of year, man, because like some stuff can be a little bit redundant. Like we got the MVP talk. We got still some teams that's jockeying for a playoff position, and in the process of them doing that, we also got some teams that's trying to spoil the party, right? And with them trying to spoil the party, they trying to throw a monkey wrench. You see, Brooklyn yesterday ended up beating the Lakers. I'm sorry, because I know that. You're purple and gold. I'm sorry to bring that up.
But we are just easing into the home stretch. Why the hell?
Why the hell what? Uh-oh. What did I miss?
Do you see that chat there?
Did I see that chat?
I'm going to have to slide over here.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, keep going. Keep going.
That's see what we dealing with here, man, because, in this thing that we got going on here, right?
Yeah.
In this thing that we got going on here, it is new. Right? This is new what we got going on here, but it's still working.
Yeah, it's still working.
100%. And again, people are tapping in, like Noman, who is a Steph Curry stan, talking about I'm not going to talk about Steph Curry, when in reality I've been talking about Steph Curry averaging 30 and 7 since the All-Star break, and the fact that the Golden State Warriors have only lost 2 games since acquiring Jimmy Butler. I've been talking about them, but if I don't think that the Golden State Warriors, if I don't think that they're going to win the NBA championship, I'm a hater. If I don't think Steph Curry is the best player in the league, he sucks.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, there is no in between when you're talking about players like that. And like I was saying before, Tone, when you talking about this time of year, you got teams jockeying for playoff position. In the process of teams jockeying for playoff position, you also got some teams that's trying to be spoilers because they ain't really got nothing to play for.
Sure.
Brooklyn is a prime example of that. Brooklyn doesn't really have anything to play for.
They're not going anywhere.
They got your boys in town last night. Luka's playing. No James. Well, if we're not going, you're not going either. Let's see if we can throw a monkey wrench in what you guys do.
Well, we going. I find that the Lakers, though, sadly, when there's an excuse to lose, they'll take it.
Oh boy,
they'll take it. They will. Oh, James isn't playing. Okay, we're gonna lose. We're not gonna put in that effort, right? And that's the frustrating part, because when a James is out, if Luka was out back before the trade, if AD was out,
right,
that's when those other guys, that's their time. Okay, so I'm gonna talk pre-Luka trade.
Yeah,
AD's out. That's when Max Christie and Rui and LeBron, look, you're going to get what you're going to get from LeBron.
Yep.
But that's when, Max Christie, Rui, Reeves, Dalton Connect, that's their time to say, hey, I want to make it difficult for you to make decisions on playing time when these guys are out and I get more.
Right.
Instead, what I find pre and post trade, we're going to take that as an excuse. Oh, LeBron's out. So we're going to lose anyways. So we don't need to put in that effort. And that's what's going to hurt them, because there's going to come a time in the playoffs when maybe LeBron's not out or maybe Luka's not out, but they're having an off night.
Yeah.
And you need those guys to step up because, well, you're playing the Nuggets.
Yeah.
You're playing OKC.
Right.
You can't just say we're going to give this game away. You can't. You have to at least put in an effort.
Sure.
And that's what worries me about them. I want to go back, though.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned about Steph. Every player is like that. Every player that I talk about, their fans will say, oh, you don't think they're the best? You're a hater.
They suck.
They suck.
There is no in between.
How many people said I'm a LeBron hater?
Everybody that talks to you.
Where do I have LeBron ranked?
Number 2, all time.
How many active players do I rank?
0.
Zero. So how is it possible that I hate him when I give him the most? Actually, to have him second, and we're going to talk a little bit more about LeBron in a second, because you're going to say I'm going to hate him when I say what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
To have him second when I don't rank anyone is actually a bigger compliment than me having Jordan at 1.
And on top of that, to be honest with you, I've actually been able to like nudge Tone a little bit, where if this happens,
there's a way. Yeah.
I've actually been able to nudge him a little bit.
No,
that,
there's a road. There is a road. There is a road.
He's just not on it yet.
But the thing is, I won't do it until he retires.
Yeah.
Because people ask me, you guys have never heard this story. You've never heard this story before.
Uh-oh.
Ask me where I had Jordan ranked in 1994.
In 1984, when Jordan retired, where was he in all-time great players?
He was out of my top 5.
How
because I had Kareem over him.
Okay.
I had Magic over him.
Okay.
I had Bird over him. I'm trying to remember because it was a long time ago.
Right.
But I remember him not being in my top 5 and people saying I was a Jordan hater because I'm a Laker guy.
Sure.
So I had Magic, Bird, Kareem.
Russell?
No,
No
I did not have
Russell?
Russell.
No James Worthy.
No. I'm trying to. I want to be accurate because I can throw out names, but I want to be, because I'm trying to think of my list now. Right? Shaq wasn't there. Kobe wasn't there.
Nope.
Hakeem wasn't there yet.
Doc.
Duncan wasn't there yet. I want to say I might have had West and maybe Wilt. And then Bill. I never had Bill very high. I think Bill was at 6.
Right.
And then maybe Jordan was 7 or 8.
Right.
So that was a fair assessment, but everyone said, because you're a Laker fan, you're a Jordan hater. And then when he came back, right, because there was a road and he won 3 more, I went, damn.
Now I can't keep him out.
I'm like, damn.
Right.
Now he's got more chips, more this, more that, more these. Right. Don't forget, a couple more MVPs, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, okay, now he slid ahead of them because now he's done more. Because Magic, for me, I had Magic and Kareem battling 1-2, and my thing against Magic was always didn't do it enough.
Right. He was a what if.
Didn't do it enough.
Yeah.
But like I looked from 1980 to 1991, an 11-year stretch where he went to 9 NBA finals in 11 years, right? Won 4 MVPs, 5 MVPs, 3 finals MVP,
3
league MVPs. Yeah, sorry. And
3.
And 3. Yeah, 3 and 3. And so I'm like, but he did so much in that such a short time. But Kareem did it for longer, and that's always the battle that I go through.
Right.
So there you go. He wasn't always there.
No, and I get the idea that, the fandom in a lot of these people. I get the idea that the fandom in a lot of these people is what it is, right? I do understand that. But what I wanted to talk to you about, Tone, is this season in particular, because I find us doing exactly what you just did. We're doing the Jordan and the James thing.
Yeah.
Right. When the 2024-25 season is one of the most incredible seasons that we've ever had. If you think about what's been going on this season.
Yeah.
James at 40 years old, player of the month. Jabbar wasn't doing that when he was 40 years old.
Not at 40.
Steph Curry, since the All-Star break, he's averaging 30-7. They're 12-2 since they got Jimmy Butler. 12-2 since they got Jimmy Butler. The Oklahoma City Thunder, as of today, they got the number 1 ranked defense all time. This is what this looks like with them all time. And they just got Chet back, by the way. They just got Chet back. He hasn't been back in the lineup a month. The Cleveland Cavaliers, for all intents and purposes, which I tried to get you on that train I'm still trying, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. I'm still trying to get him on that train. The Cleveland Cavaliers, they're number one in the league in offense. They're number one in the league in pick and dive. I think Evan Mobley is the best defensive player in the game. Donovan Mitchell's going to be an all-pro.
They're going to break your heart.
And you keep telling me that. And I don't think they win in the NBA championship.
Okay.
Let's be clear about that. I don't think that they're winning the NBA championship. I think the road stops when they run into Boston. But with that being said, Tone, we're having one of the best seasons in NBA history. We have one of the closest races for that people are talking about with the league MVP. We're having one of the closest races, even though I think that we're starting to get some separation, if I'm being honest.
Should we have this MVP conversation right now?
We can get into it.
Because the MVP conversation starts and ends with this question for me. If Jokic had 0 MVPs today, would anyone not give him the MVP?
So 2021 never happened.
Nothing ever happened.
2022,
as of today, 0.
2023 gone.
Gone.
Joker just ended up. Joker
is in year whatever 11. He's in 11.
Yep.
It's 2024-25 season.
Yep.
He's doing what he's doing right now. Denver's where they are in the standings. SGA's doing what he's doing. Everybody's doing what they're doing.
Yep.
But he has 0 MVPs. Who's winning the MVP this year?
Joker.
And everyone I've asked, everyone, and I mean casual fans, analysts, people who have a vote,
yep,
they've all said the same thing.
It's Joker.
So if that is your answer, then he's your MVP.
Right.
The fact that this thing about voter fatigue, it needs to go away.
Now
it needs to go away. I don't care if you win 10 in a row.
Right. I do understand that part, though. Tone. But I think this is where the separator comes in. So when Joker now wins the league MVP in 21, he's 26. I think 11-7. That's the standard now for him.
Yes.
Okay. And then in 22, he has one of the all-time great seasons where they end up in the 6th spot. He's similar. He did what was similar to what Jabbar did in 75, 76 in terms of leading in almost every advanced metric. He did all of that. Won it again. Then last year, he won it. They were at the top of the league.
Mm-hmm.
I think he led the league. He was in the top 3 in the league in rebounding. Well, here we are in 2025. He's in the top 3. He's in the top 3 in points, rebounds, and assists.
And how many times has that been done before?
0. Now, here's the thing, because this is just so you guys know,
0.
This is an ESPN stat. I like that too, Tone. This is an ESPN stat. 100% this is. And the reason why is because Chamberlain did it, only except he was in the top 4.
Okay.
See, so
so hold on. So the stat king, the guy who was focused more on stats than winning games, could only do top 4. And this guy who's actually out here playing basketball, more worried about riding his horses, he's top 3.
Yes, he was Chamberlain was in the top.
It's a wrap.
He was in the top 4.
It's a wrap.
In points, rebounds, and assists.
Yeah.
In those seasons. Now, with that being said,
where is he in blocks? Just that, do you know?
I don't think he's in the top 10 in blocks. No, he isn't. But how about this for an idea, Tone? He's tied with SGA for 2nd in the league in steals.
Come on now.
Yes, that's going on, Tone. That is going on. He's tied with SGA for 2nd in the league in steals. Yes, that is going on. Mm-hmm. Him and SGA are tied for steals. But remember, Tone, and I know that you and I, okay, just so you guys know, Tone and I have been doing this for years. And in the process of us doing this for years, Tone and I go back and forth with this voter fatigue thing. I don't think it's a thing. And the reason why I don't think it's a thing off the strength that these guys are still coming in 2nd. These guys aren't coming in 5th. They're not coming in 6th. They're still coming in 2nd. With that being said, when you win the league MVP 2-3 times, there now becomes a standard for you that's not for everybody else. Off the strength that, okay, this is now you, which would explain why Giannis hasn't won the league MVP since 2020.
But that's my definition.
Even though he's 30 and over the last 3 seasons, he's 30-12.
But that's kind of part of the voter fatigue that I'm talking about, is because you're comparing him to his previous self. Well, no, he doesn't have to win an MVP over his previous self. He has to win an MVP over the players this season. And if I compare, and you telling me Jordan was only I know it's not the best player in the league all the time. He was only the best player 5 times. You're telling me LeBron was only the most valuable player on his team 4 times?
No, that's not.
Because I guarantee you there's people who say 10 times.
Mm.
He carried a bunch of scrubs to him. Okay, well, if any of that is real, he should have 8. Jordan should have at least 8. But why do they do it? They say, well, it's not that Jordan. And I said this to you at the beginning of this season with LeBron. I said people are keeping LeBron out of their top 10 because they're comparing LeBron now to LeBron 2013.
Right.
Okay, he's not that good. But how does he compare against the players today?
Right.
Oh no, but he's not as good. No. And that's where I think the fatigue part kind of comes into effect, is that you don't want to give him another one because people are worried about, just think about it. Defensive player of the year last year. Oh my God. If they give it to Rudy Gobert, he's going to have 4 or 5 times. And what does that mean? What does that mean? It doesn't matter what it means. If that's where your vote is because that's what you believe is the defensive player of the year, then that's where it goes. To say Joker can't win 3 in a row because then we're going to have to talk about him in the same conversation as Bird.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you should.
Yeah. And here's the problem with that, though, Tone. One, there are people who aren't prepared to have that conversation. That's number one.
Too bad.
Number two,
give your vote to someone else then.
Maybe that might be the case. But if you think about what the league MVP is about, now, if you think about what the league MVP is about, think about what SGA has done this season in terms of his league MVP, in terms of his value to his team.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that he's done. I got winning, check. Numbers, okay, I lead the league in scoring. I'm in the top 3 in the league in steals, which means I'm leading on the other side of the ball. Tone, I want to dead this narrative that guys who are steals leaders don't play defense because they're tied in with guys like James Harden, Steph Curry, and Allen Iverson.
But
I'm sick of hearing that, Tone.
It's defense. It's just not what you want to see as defense. People want to, there's no stat for staying in front of your man. There's no stat for being up on him and making him pass. There's now finally, at least there's a stat for deflections, but there's no stat for even the big man. You get blocks, but how many times did he change a shot?
Right, and that's called rim protection.
Right, but
right, I do understand that.
Steals is a part of it, and if my team requires me, like if you even look at the definition of a shooting guard, in the definition,
it's Steph Curry, to be honest with you.
It's but one of the steals, he's focused on steals. So getting out in the passing lane, tipping the ball, getting steals.
Right.
That's actually what they're expected to do on defense. So to say that they're just a horrible defender because they get steals or that's not defense. Here's the way I look at things. This is why I say when I look at great players, I actually, unlike most people, I value certain things more than the other. I value scoring first. Why? Well, because I've told you this stat a million times. The team that scores the most points wins 100%. 100,
not 89%, not 94%.
100%.
If I score more points than you,
100%.
I'm 100% of the time I'm going to win.
100%. And so I put that first. Assist. I put assist second because it led to a score, which equates to 100% of the victories.
Right.
And then rebounds and steals, I have equal because what do rebounds and steals do? They change possession.
Correct.
Offensive rebound, a little bit lower because it continues a possession.
Right.
Gives you a second chance. And then actually, and this is funny because Defensive Player of the Year award gets this amount. I have blocks as the last thing because not every block is a change of possession.
Nope.
There are times when you've seen this, and we don't know the percentage, where it's a block shot and it goes right into the other team's hands for an easy layup, and it's like, oh, well, what the hell I blocked that shot for?
Or it goes out of bounds and they get the ball back and they score.
Exactly. And so it's not even a change of possession all the time.
Sure.
So that ranks lower.
Right.
So I feel like if we're going to give MVP awards, if we're going to give Defensive Player of the Year award, you should weight those things because each one means something different. And they don't.
And they don't. But when I think, to your point, when I think about a guy being a steals leader.
Can I pause you for 1 second?
Sure.
If you want us to read your comment, send it in a super chat.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
So
because, by the way, the laptop is about 95 feet away from me and the little letters are literally like this. I can't read. Or resend it and then I'll read it. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
So when I think about a guy, like, for example, what SGA is doing and how important he is to that defense, he's not just woven into the team. He's important to what they're doing. Like, if he doesn't do his job, they're in trouble. If
Okay.
he's
Yeah.
not in
Okay.
if he's not in the passing lane, if he's not an on-ball defender, even though he might not be their best on-ball defender, that might be J Dub, that might be Lou Dort. Each one of those guys defensively provides something different. But I'm not going to take away from the fact that SGA provides something extremely important, considering what the rotations are in Oklahoma City, considering how they blitz and the schemes that they have and the stuff that they do. He's integral in that. That's why he's that's why he's at the top of the leaderboard in steals. But when people see a steals leader, they immediately equate it to Steph Curry or Allen Iverson. When in reality, and I've said this to you before, Tone, Michael Jordan was a steals leader. He played defense. John Stockton was a steals leader. He played defense. Sidney Moncrief, Alvin Robinson, these guys were steals leaders, and they played defense. Dyson Daniels, this kid in Atlanta, who I love, he's a steals leader, and he plays defense. So I don't want what I don't want to do is I don't want to discount the fact that SGA is at the top of the league in steals and on the leaderboard and say, well, Joker's up there and Joker doesn't play defense. Well, Joker might not be as good a defender, but SGA plays defense, and that matters.
Well, because they'll look at it statistically and say SGA and Jokic average the same amount of steals, and I'm guessing Joker has more blocks per game. I'm going to assume. And so if I'm looking statistically, he's the guy. But you brought up an interesting point where you said he's not woven into it. And you said, and he's important to the team. But if everyone's healthy, and that's rare, but if everyone's healthy and you take SGA out and everyone's healthy and you take Joker out, which team do you think does better?
I'm glad you brought that up, Tone. And the reason why I'm glad you brought that up is because this is the reason why Denver loses their Joker minutes. And the reason why is because they're used to having Joker back. Oklahoma City, they're prepared because of how this group is put together. I feel like they're prepared, even though they're not as good, but they're prepared to play when SGA is out of the lineup. Even though,
or is it easier to replace him?
No, it's not easier to replace him off the strength that he does so much for them as a bucket getter.
But you think it's easier to replace? It's easier to replace if you had to pick Joker or SGA. And for the record, before all my Canadian people come after me, Ticket, where you at? Where you at? Why aren't you in Florida? I love SGA. I think SGA is amazing. I have no issues with SGA. I for the whole season, I said he's my MVP,
and he's mine too.
But we need to have the conversation. Yes, go ahead.
And he's mine too. And I don't think that there's anybody who affects winning as much as he does. But I feel like Oklahoma City, when he's off the floor, it's almost like they're prepared to play when he's not there. They've never really had to play in Denver without Joker. They already know he's coming, even if he's on the bench for 8 minutes, even if he's on the bench for 10 minutes, they know he's coming back.
Yeah. Okay.
Oklahoma City, okay, they're so guard heavy with SGA, with J Dub, with Lou Dort, with Alex Caruso, with Cason Wallace, with Wiggins, with Isaiah Joe. They got a bunch of different guards where they're going to lose a lot because SGA is hugely responsible for their points. To your point, you score 100%, you score more points, you're going to win 100% of the time.
Sure.
However, they get their buckets in different ways when he's off the floor. Like we'll create steals, we'll create opportunities defensively to get us buckets. And now when we get into the meat and potatoes of the game, now it becomes something different. Joker, on the other hand, Jamal Murray is the primary ball handler. They run the offense through Joker. And everything that they do from a distributor standpoint, from an action standpoint, from guys getting open shots, all of that is equated to Joker. That's just offensively. But the reason why I feel like SGA equates to winning more because he also does it on the defensive side of the ball. That's where I think the separator is with me.
Okay. So if you had a vote, you're going SGA.
SGA is my guy. Yes, he is.
But if I said, but hold on. But if I said if Joker never won one, you said you'd give it to Joker.
I did, and here's the difference. The reason why is because this season.
See why that's confusing?
It is confused, 100%. And like I said, Tone, when you've won the league MVP, there's a standard that's now measured for you, which would explain why LeBron James hasn't seen the league MVP in 10 years. That's why, because once you win it, 1, 2, 3, okay, now we to your point, what we're doing now is we're measuring you not against SGA. We're not measuring you against Joker. We're measuring you against you.
the problem with that is, what's the measuring stick? Because there's no criteria.
Well, it is because
Is there?
yes, it is. And
What's the give me the criteria?
okay, so we'll start
And show me where they have it outlined.
Okay, so we'll start they don't have it outlined. No, unfortunately, they don't.
I believe.
But yeah, I know that is a little weird. Yes, that is.
I love this.
It's almost like he's at home, by the way, because he's got this whole thing. They don't have a criteria, but the one thing of all the league MVP criteria, the one thing it's always been winning, always.
Okay.
Now we've had anomalies with Joker in 22, with Russ in 17,
Kareem.
right, and that doesn't happen often.
Yeah.
Right. For the majority of the league MVPs, the criteria is winning. How effective are you when it comes to your team winning? And when I think about what SGA has done, which is better this season than what he did last year, well, Joker is better than what he was last year too. SGA is winning a little bit more.
Okay, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. So, you got SGA for your vote.
I do.
I will give Joker his fourth. How many you got? 4?
Yep.
Fourth. Congratulations, Nikola Jokic. You got my vote for MVP. At the top of the show, it says LeBron was wrong. So we talked about LeBron a little bit. So let's get into this for a second.
This is the first time I talked about this too, Tone.
I haven't talked about it either, and I haven't talked about it on purpose because I knew we were going to talk about it today.
Yep.
So everyone at this point knows LeBron James. I'm going to go a little more centered in the camera. This is so weird for me. I might even go and change that camera. The people who own this studio are going to give me shit. He went and confronted Stephen A. Smith. Yep. By all accounts, it was to keep his son's name out of his MF, and he pulled a Will Smith without the smack.
I'm telling you, bro, keep my son out of this.
Okay, so why it's my opinion, and I don't know if you agree because we haven't talked about this.
No, we have not. Why
I put in the title LeBron was wrong is because I believe he was wrong, and here's why. You said last year your son was better than half of these dudes, and he could be playing on the Lakers right now. So you elevate him to that level. Some people would say he was only drafted 55th by the Lakers because of LeBron being his dad. Yep. I'll call timeout on that and say, well, based on how the 56th, 57th, 58th, 59th, 60th player have played, no, he was deserving of the 55th pick. But he's deserving of a G League player. People would say, well, he's only getting minutes now after that first game, which was a nice moment because LeBron's his dad and he's getting minutes because none of the other guys are getting as many minutes. In fact, there's a guy who got drafted 53rd. I believe his name is Cam. No, I can't remember his first name. Ward or something along those lines.
Cam Ward's a quarterback for Miami.
Cam Ward, yeah, no, I'm not talking about him. It might be Cam Spencer or Spence or something like that. Either way, he was the 53rd pick. You can look him up. He's doing just as good, if not better, than Bronny not getting the minutes in the NBA. That being said, the second he crossed and became a Los Angeles Laker, he is now a professional athlete. A professional athlete who will be criticized for his mistakes, who will be praised for. I didn't hear. Does LeBron tell all the people on Twitter to stop going crazy for him every time he scores one basket in a game? Of course not. So people said, well, LeBron is this and that. And, I've been seeing all over Stephen A. Smith, 1.5 points per game in college. Where does he get off talking about him? You know where he gets off talking about him? Look at me closely. When ESPN paid him $100 million to talk about him. That's his job. His job is to talk about these guys for $100 million. You give me $100 million, I don't give a who you are. Right. I'm talking about you. Sure. So LeBron doing that is just another example of him making a spectacle to be seen. Right. I get it. As a dad, 100%. I understand. If someone's talking shit about my son, we're going to have words. Yep. No problem. I understand that. But this is a different scenario. And to Stephen A's point, he could have called, he could have texted, No, he waited to look at him and do it when he knew that there was a camera going to be on him And so that's why he was wrong. He's making it a deal so that he can be the news story. And that has always been people's issue with LeBron, is that when someone misses or fouls him, he rolls around on the ground and makes a big deal about himself. Remember, I don't know if you remember that, there was the one where he was down over here and then a fight broke up and he got up and walked over to where the fight was and fell down again. Like, I'll show you the clip.
I remember.
You remember that?
I
yeah.
do remember.
And it's and that's
It was playing
whether it's true or false, there's always these, he needs to be the center of attention. He needs to, you didn't need to do this if it was really about your son.
Yeah, but here's the difference though, Tone, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat this. He forgot that, exactly to your point, that one, he is a professional basketball player and his son is a professional basketball player. What he looked at this as, he immediately turned into a father. That's what he was in the end. He turned into a father and he was just protecting his son. That's it. Not realizing that I am subject now as your son to criticism. Now, how I'm criticized, okay, you don't get to dictate how I'm criticized. But on the flip side to that, there are things that if you say, you may be out of line. I saw Russell Westbrook's father when Stephen A. Smith during the 2012 finals was saying wild stuff about him, and Russell Westbrook's father stepped to Stephen A. like, hey, man, listen, I understand that you can be critical, but that ain't necessary. How you're talking about my son. That's not necessary.
I don't remember that.
He's the worst point guard in NBA history, and
so it was all basketball related.
That's what it was.
Then he has no business opening his mouth.
It was, but he the way he brought it into it, the way he brought it up about Russell Westbrook. Same thing with James. I'm pleading with you, stop this, please. As a father, stop this. Listen, okay, I get it. The kid maybe doesn't, not maybe, I'm not going to say
come on.
Maybe. He doesn't belong.
Thank
no, he does not,
okay.
Tone.
Because I'm not going to let you get away.
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
Not right now.
Okay.
He's actually been really good in the G League. But
100%.
But today he's not ready. He's going to be ready at some point. I'm confident that he's going to be ready, and I think he's going to be a damn good pro. But this, stop this, please. Like, I understand James's point, but he does have to understand. He does have to understand that when now you're on this stage and now we're in this space, you are subject, and your son is now subject to criticism. You can only protect him for so long. Now we're in a space where he can't be protected solely, even though there are athletes who are protected. He can't be protected solely, not just because you're his father, but because he's a professional athlete and he is subjective. He is subjective to criticism.
Okay, so when it's interesting that you brought up him saying, "I'm pleading you as a father." That was a good impersonation of him, by the way. So was he talking to Bronny, or was he talking to LeBron?
Sounds like he was talking to James.
So he's not even criticizing Bronny. He's telling James, we understand he's getting minutes because he's your son. LeBron understands that he's getting minutes because he's his son. JJ understands that he's getting minutes because it's his son. So did he really criticize Bronny, or did he criticize LeBron James and JJ Redick for doing what they should not be doing, which is giving someone who you admit doesn't belong playing time? At the end of games, when they're down 20, up 20, that's different. There was a game against Boston in the first quarter where we really saw that he didn't belong. So does he maybe know more than we do and understands that LeBron has more input into that rotation?
Well, let's be clear about one thing. We know what James's level of input is, and it's always been since he's been in the league. We all know that. Now, you can't have your cake and eat it too, though. I understand James as a father, and I
never liked that saying.
Me neither,
because I want my cake and I want to eat it.
But unfortunately, you can't have you can't have. Essentially, you can't have everything, right? And to James's point, he wants everything. He wants the glory of being able to play with his son and just be celebrated, which, to his point, that's all y'all talk about. Y'all talk about me. Y'all talk about the quote-unquote face of the league in a bad light. And I understand that. But let's not act like you don't contribute to it, my man, because you do. You 100% contribute to it.
Of course he does.
No, 100% you did. And I'm a James guy. I want to make sure that we're clear about this. I'm a James guy. So I can't sit up here and just completely cap and just say that, James was right and I'm right. I am a James guy. Anybody who knows me knows I'm a James guy, but I got to call a spade a spade. And a lot of this stuff is on you. You bring this stuff. Your son, who is a professional athlete, is not prepared to play in the NBA. He will be subjected to criticism when he plays in the NBA, especially when he plays the amount of minutes that he plays, especially when he plays, who he's on the floor with. He is not prepared to be a professional basketball player at that level yet. That's why he's in the G League.
Right.
And I think at some point he's going to be a good pro, Tone. I do.
Okay,
I know how you feel about this.
No, you've said that twice, and I want to define what you mean when you say a good pro. When you say a good pro, are you talking like a starter, an all-star?
I think he could play anywhere between 10 to 12 years. I think he could be a solid backup league guard who may be able to play himself into a starter later on in his career. A starter on the championship team, I ain't doing that. I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna go that far. But I do think that as he develops, because remember who we're talking about here. We're talking about a kid who has gotten better. He got better last season when he played at USC. What he's doing in the G League, that's what he would be doing in college, which means that if he was at USC today and he's doing what he's doing in the G League, he'd be moving up the draft board. And we'd be talking about him a lot differently.
Yeah, I agree.
We would 100. Okay. But that doesn't mean that he's ready, Tone.
No, he's not. He's definitely
that does not mean that he's ready. That means that he could very well use another year of school instead of coming out after 2 years, come out after 3.
Yeah.
And then we can develop him into a legit pro. But I do think that for all intents and purposes, at some point, I think he could be a legit starter.
As the way you described it, then he can come in and be a backup point guard on a non-championship team. Okay, I'm okay with that because he has shown signs in the G League. My concern is always though, college to pro. College to G League to pro. Those things don't always translate because we see tons of you want to see who has the most points in G League games and who averages the most points. Show me their NBA stats. It's never good. It's never good. Cam Spencer. That is 53rd. It is Cam Spencer, the 53rd. Okay. So that's what I'm saying. It's not always good. So it doesn't always translate because who's in the G League? Well, it's the smaller guys, the less skilled guys, and it's not typically the less athletic guys, but so a guy like him can put up really good numbers because he's very skilled. He's very athletic. Right. The problem is when you're 6 foot nothing and skilled and athletic, well, there's another 20 guys that are 6'6" and just as skilled and just as athletic. Right. And it makes your life a lot more difficult. Like you played one-on-one with Fluent Jr. today.
I did.
He played one-on-one with Fluent Jr. today.
That was fun.
And he looks really good against other 10-year-olds. And right? He plays against 12-year-olds. And he looks really good against them. Other than that first one, he scored on him. Other than that first time, you know what he said? He goes, Uncle Chill's really good. Why? Well, because you got a foot and something on him and you're stronger and faster. And I don't mean to equate my 10-year-old to Bronny James, but it is very similar in the sense that, yeah, you can get away with doing that against lesser guys. Yeah. The second the level steps up now, it's different. Like how many guys have we seen in college? They were like, oh, yeah, they're going to be good. And then they make it to the pros and we're like, oh.
I remember vividly Dwight Howard when he first got to the league saying, yo, these guys are a lot bigger and a lot stronger than – well, this ain't high school no more. That's why. Yeah, these are adults here. It's 100%.
So, and he let's be honest, he basically went high school to NBA because the time at USC, what did he play? 10 games, 12 games? Yeah. No, he didn't. So he didn't really experience even that second tier. Right. He went straight from Sierra Canyon to the Lakers. No offense, he didn't go to Charlotte. He went to the Lakers, where every team is gunning for you every single night, not only because you're the Lakers, but because you got LeBron and you're his son. Right. So they're going to give you their best because they know everybody's watching. So I think that's why I say I think it put him in a difficult position because the eyes are on him. And they shouldn't be for a player of his ability. And James compounded it with, keep my son out of this. Well, that's just him trying to protect his son. That's all it is more than anything. And at this point, you can't. At this point, you cannot protect him off the strength that he is now in this space.
He is now a professional basketball player.
He's open for criticism.
I understand that you being
Exactly.
a father and you want to protect your son, because that's that would be anybody. That would be me, Tone. That would be you. That would be any of us trying to protect our son.
Well, no. Let me pause and say, to a certain extent.
That's what I'm talking about.
For example, there's some cuckoos in the comments and stuff, and I had a guy reach out on IG because he didn't like my. Oh, remember the clip? It's my favorite one. It means nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It means nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And because I disrespected Tony Parker, he's like, your son needs to work on his jump shot. I said, you're right. He's 10. We're working on it. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
I didn't say keep my son's name out your mouth.
Right.
I didn't need it. I didn't need it because I knew the criticism was coming not towards him. It was coming towards me.
But that's
and
different, though, Tone.
But hold on, because the criticism towards Bronny isn't directed at Bronny, because for all intents and purposes, he's a good kid. He's trying really hard.
It's directed at his father.
It's exactly
because you're the reason why he's here.
Right.
It's because of you.
So the criticism, even Stephen A's, is at LeBron. It's not at Bronny.
And
so he should say, keep my name out your mouth.
But to your point though, Tone, when you get to this point, like you just said, the guy tells you, your son needs to work on his jump shot. Okay, that's one guy. Tone, if you hear that shit 100 times every day, after a while, you're gonna be like, you know what? That's enough. I done heard enough of this from all of you guys. Right. And I think that's where I feel like that's where James is. And I feel like he blew a gasket, even though I think he knows that this is my doing. I am responsible for having him here. I am responsible for that.
So is it your assertion then that LeBron was just at the game, saw Stephen A, was thinking about it, and kind of went dad mode, and maybe didn't think, just reacted?
I'm not buying
a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not buying the whole. He could have called me and no. First of all, I don't think James knew that Stephen A was going to be there. I don't think he knew that, but I think that he saw him and was like, I'm gonna go check him right now. I think that's all that was. The idea of him calling him and going, you could have picked up the telephone. Why I gotta pick the telephone up if you right here? If you right here right now, and I can deal with you right here right now.
Because you're celebrities, and he doesn't want to make it like doing it in public means it's gonna be gonna make it, it's gonna be a story, and we're gonna talk about it.
Sure.
I want to talk about my favorite WNBA player.
Uh-oh. Caitlin Clark? No.
Angel Reese.
Okay.
So Miss Reese, what the hell? Miss Reese recently came out on her podcast and said she wants to be in the room with the Players Association because if they don't give us what we want, we ain't playing.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing, Tone.
That's the exact reason why you're not going to be in the room. Because this is the same person. Hey, thankfully she has a lot of endorsement deals whose rent in Chicago is more than her WNBA salary. So when it comes to finances, respectfully, you're not the one we should be taking advice from.
No, we shouldn't.
She wants to be paid like an NBA player. She wants to go on strike. All of these things are going to completely bankrupt the WNBA and put them out of business. And then guess what? All of those endorsement deals are gone.
Goodbye.
There's no Reese's Pieces cereal.
McDonald's.
There's no McDonald's Angel Happy Meal. It's all gone because you're going to be playing in Turkey and no one's going to give a what you're doing because you're playing in Turkey. And let's be very, 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 very clear. The WNBA's revenue was higher than it's ever been last year. And they still lost $50 million or $500 million or $1 billion, whatever the hell and that's with the NBA's subsidies. They still lost money.
Wait a minute, stop right there, Tone. I want to make sure I'm following you. So that's with you giving me bread.
I gave you money and a TV deal, and you still lost money. And they sold. Remember all the attendance? Oh, everybody's going to the games. It's so awesome. Cool. And I love it because I've said forever, you should watch the WNBA. It's a very good product.
Yep.
Don't compare it to the NBA because it's very different. Respect for what it is.
Yep.
And now they're going and let's be honest. She's the same one. She's the same one who wanted to string up the golden goose and hang it from a tree. Because she's like, I don't like her. She's getting the attention. Well, she's the damn reason one of the main reasons. So many people went to watch the games.
Mm.
So you don't like the person who's bringing in people. It's me too. They're going to say, no one went to see you.
Nobody.
I know that for a fact because I have the numbers. This isn't Angel Reese hate. This is factual. If I take the names out of it, I saw whose games got watched and had the highest attendance. I saw whose didn't. And even after all of that, you shit on this, you shit on it, you shit on it. Then
Whose games, before you go any further, Tones, who's, in your estimation, Angel Reese, did her games get watched?
Did they get watched? Yes, they got watched. Mm-hmm. But if you look at the numbers of the Chicago Sky over the last 3 years and her rookie season, it went up a bit, but everybody's went up a bit. Go look at Indiana's.
Right.
800 times more. Well, okay. Go look at games that Caitlin Clark played in other arenas. It was their highest attendance. It was the highest viewership. People, look, I don't care what you say. People went to watch her. I don't care if you, that's because she's this and she's that. I don't care.
Right.
You're trying to build a brand. Do you think anyone said, well, it's Magic and Bird. That's not what we should do. They should come to watch us. No, they saved your league from bankruptcy.
They did.
So what we're going to do is say this person who has a chance to save our league from bankruptcy, we're going to disrespect her. And we're going to go on. You know what happens if WNBA goes on strike this year?
They go under.
They're done.
They go under.
They're done.
100%.
They're finished.
Yes.
And someone's going to start another league. Someone's going to do something else. There's the 3-on-3. Everybody seems to like the 3-on-3 league. I don't even know. What's the viewership on that?
I don't think that the union would allow them to go on strike because they can't afford to, Tone. They can't. Not only that, you're a businessman. I talk to you all the time about business. Tone, there's no way in any form of business that
Sorry, I apologize. My bad. Fluent Junior's on the chat and told me to stop cursing. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
He's watching.
My bad.
There's no way, Tone.
They're watching.
They are watching. So focused, Tone. There's no way that in any business that you are subsidizing, if I'm not making you any bread and I come to you and I go, I'm not working another day unless you give me more money, you're rolling with that. That's not happening.
If I'm Adam Silver, because that's who's going to be at the table too. If I'm Adam Silver and the WNBA Players Association says, hey, if we don't get paid what the NBA players are getting, and listen, I don't think and I don't think they're that dumb because Kelsey Plum was very smart. She said, we don't want the same amount of money as them. We want the same percentage. So the NBA players get 50% of the revenue.
51, yep.
Right. And the WNBA players get 50% of the incremental revenue, meaning the difference of revenue 1 year over the next. It ends up being about 25%.
Right.
So for them to say, hey, we want the same deal. And just for the record, MLB, NHL, NBA, they all have around the same thing where it's about 50%.
Right.
So, okay, it makes sense that the WNBA gets 50%. That's fine.
Yep.
But that number is still significantly less than what the NBA players get paid because their revenue isn't anywhere near. So that being said, if that's the ask, they have a conversation. But if they say, if we don't get NBA money, we're out, then the NBA, I'd tell you, if I'm Adam Silver, I just say, no problem. You'll get your 50%. Here's your 50%. However, we're out of the WNBA business and we're not going to subsidize it anymore. Because the second they step away,
they can't survive without that.
That goes from a $50 million loser to like
teams are folding.
And they're about to bring in a bunch of new teams.
Yes, teams are folding.
Could you imagine the Toronto Tempo, I'm trying to think of the other teams that are just coming. I think Seattle got a team.
Golden State just got a team.
Golden State got a team. Imagine a work stoppage before you even start.
No, that's just not.
It's gonna kill the league. So even saying that is so irresponsible.
It is.
But I'm not surprised. She's very focused on only herself. And that's okay. I've always said, get yours.
Well,
get yours. I've always said that.
Let me ask you this. You are a historian of the game. When did the NBA become the NBA?
Like in name?
In name. When was it the NBA? Because people think the NBA started in 1947. When did it become the NBA?
In the 1949-1950 season, the BAA, Basketball Association of America, merged with the NBL, the National Basketball League.
Right.
And that was the first season, 49-50, that they were the NBA.
Yep.
So 49-50.
So 49-50. So what I want you to do, Tone, so from 49-50 I want you to add 27 years. So that's probably
77.
77. Where is the NBA in 1977, Tom?
Great question. They are on the verge of bankruptcy, so they merge with the bankrupt ABA.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you know what the NBA doesn't do? You know what the ABA doesn't do? They don't go to the NBA and go, listen, if you don't give us enough money, we ain't coming to your league.
Right.
No,
No.
they can't wait to get into the NBA, as a matter of fact. Now, instead of Angel Reese, now, this is what I don't want to sound like. I don't want to sound like.
No, replace Angel Reese with Dr. J.
Right. And
I knew that's what you're going to go with, right?
Absolutely. What I don't want to sound like is, thank you for everything you're giving us. And no, because that's not what's going on. Mm-hmm. That is not what's going on here. What I am saying though is we are now riding a tidal wave, right? The NBA, even though we did lose money last year, we are now gaining some momentum. We have popularity.
Yeah.
We got this woman, Caitlin Clark, who everybody in America seems to be in love with.
Yes.
With that being said, you, possibly the villain, they look at you like that. We can ride that too.
Yes.
We can ride that too. Kind of like what was going on with Bird and Magic.
It's
kind of similar to
that. It's actually perfect.
Yeah.
What they're doing. If they could get those teams to meet in the playoffs,
yes,
it would be great marketing. Except it's not just the one person who's being the villain and saying we don't like this CC girl. It's the whole league. It's the whole league saying no. What about us? We've been doing this for years. Yeah. Okay. And they didn't like you. Too bad. They didn't watch you. Oh, well. But now they are. Here's your chance. Here's your chance. How many people knew Angel Wilson before last season that weren't already at WNBA?
Right.
Nobody. How many people know her now?
Everybody knows.
And it's a damn good thing because she's a phenomenal basketball player.
Yes,
so use that to your advantage. How many people knew me before Chill? Nobody. No, I'm just you ride the wave.
And it's necessary to do that, Tone. You laughing.
It's a joke, but
it's 100% necessary to do that because when you do that, that's what happens in 1977. The NBA goes, okay, this league is going to be a defunct league. We got a drug problem in the NBA.
100%.
We have an image problem in the NBA. We got this charismatic young 25-year-old with an afro who basically got dropped out of the sky. If we bring him into our league and he does what we think he can do, he's going to turn us into something really viable.
100%. But they're still not making money at that point.
No, they're not. But we're not completely and utterly. If people are paying attention to us,
yes,
people are watching the NBA at that point.
But guess what? When they go in, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't remember this, but was the rest of the league saying Dr. J sucks? Dr. J is just a high flyer who played with a red, white, and blue ball.
They couldn't wait to see him.
They wanted him there.
They couldn't wait to see Doc.
Right? When Magic and Birds start playing in their rookie season, they're not saying these guys suck. They're not saying, why are you watching them? They don't. They say, yeah, they're good, but watch what we're going to do to them. They took on that challenge and said, we're going to compete with those guys. Like, why does Moses go to Philly? Well, because Philly loses in the NBA final. Moses is in Houston. He's MVP, but he's not going anywhere. So he says, hey, let's figure out a way to compete with these guys. Not let's talk trash about them, because we understand that we need to use these people to build up the brand. And if it was just Angel as the bad person saying, hey, Caitlin Clark, and she says nothing, it's like, duh, and they put that together. Or Asia versus there's another Cordoza. I like her. Cordoza. I think Cordoza, right? Like
that
do those in
Chicago.
Yeah, create those matchups.
Yep.
Because that's where they are now. Is there's teams that have, like, Indiana's doing great, other teams are not.
Sure.
If I told you, or if I know you know the answer, but if you didn't know the answer and I said to you, you've got the Chicago Bulls NBA team. It's 1984. You got the Chicago Bulls NBA team, and you've got the Chicago indoor soccer team.
Oh my God.
Both playing at Chicago's old Chicago Stadium. Which one is getting more attendance? which would you think was getting higher attendance?
I would think that it was the basketball team. I would think that.
You would think that, but it was the
Yes.
indoor soccer team.
Oh, my God.
That's how bad the Bulls franchise was when they got this kid from the University of North Carolina.
Nobody cared about basketball.
Nobody cared about basketball.
Right.
Well, did they say F him? F Air Jordan? No, they said throw some shoes on him, right? And make the posters, make the this and do the that, because that's what we need to do to build the franchise first and then the league, because you build the team, you build the franchise.
And on top of that, Tone, when you have that kind of fanfare, when you have a Caitlin Clark, when you have Caitlin Clark in the league, when you have Angel Reese in the league, then you see who else is in the league. Me and my man Ox have had this conversation. Ox, how did you find out about Scottie Pippen? I found out about Scottie Pippen because I was watching the Bulls and I was watching Jordan. Turns out, they got this 6'7", 6'8" guy named Scottie Pippen. I really like his game. Well, you don't see him if they're not on TV. And the reason why they're on TV, because they're marketing Jordan. Same logic with Angel Reese. Angel, what you're going to be is you're going to be the person that makes others in the WNBA a big deal, because they're coming to see you. And with them coming to see you, they're going to see somebody else and go, you know what? We like her. In addition to liking you, it's not like they're just going to like this other person. No, they're going to dig you too. But what you want to do is you want to pull the plug on the whole thing.
Right.
You want to pull the plug on the whole thing and completely wreck this. We can't do that. No, we can't do that.
I don't like making it a race thing. But everyone said everybody knew who Angel Reese was before Caitlin Clark.
That's not true.
They didn't.
No, that's not true.
They didn't. 60-something% of the population did not know who you were until they started watching Caitlin Clark and then saw what you did to her that some thought was disrespectful. Others like me thought it was hilarious. I love this. I love the ring. 100. I love it. No problem. But they didn't know who you were until then. Now, shame on them. Maybe they weren't watching. Okay, sure. But do you think that didn't help with all your publicity and all your endorsements and all that other stuff? Of course it did.
Mm-hmm.
So take advantage of it. That's all I'm saying is you don't have to poo-poo. See, I didn't cuss on everything just because you don't like how you got it. You know what I mean? How many people, let's go back to the NBA. How many people know who the hell Alex Caruso is?
Not many outside of outside of people like you and I that are already on the hook. Not many.
But he's on the Lakers. And then it's like, oh, I'm watching for LeBron.
Right.
Who's this Elmer Fudd looking dude with the headband? He can play some defense.
Yes.
He can make some shots.
I really like him.
I like him. That's how you find out about all these other guys.
Correct.
Nothing wrong with that.
That is correct.
How did right? Like, how do I find out? Even though Angel Wilson's MVP, we already agreed the masses didn't know who she was.
No.
But now we're watching, and now we do. Right now we know Ariki. I always say her name wrong. A good no man.
Oh, you're talking about the chick that played for Dallas?
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
She's fantastic.
Yes, leading the league.
Listen, I can't say anybody's last name, so don't take that personal. But even when me and Fluent Jr. do this thing, we pick a city, and we play an NBA 2K game.
Yep.
We play a WNBA game, Madden, and then we play one-on-one, and we have to pick a player from that team and play one-on-one outside, like real, right? And so I was Dallas. She was lighting it up. She couldn't miss. It was great. But never would have known who these people were. Right. So that's all I'm saying is you don't need to knock the other. And this is what we do now, though, right? We knock people to do this. And I want to go, and this takes me back now when I think about it to the LeBron James and Stephen A stuff, because we knock people to build up others. Right. And that is I've fallen into that trap too, but that is a thing that we do now. And I got into it a little bit, Ori from Hoop Social.
Sure.
Him and I have to have a debate on this because he's like blaming this media person and that. And I'm like, no, I blame the fans. I blame us because remember, what was it? Cold Pizza?
Yes. When it first started.
Right. Cold Pizza then became First Take. Yes, and what did they do? You took a side, I took a side, and we started arguing.
Yes.
And what did the ratings do?
They went up.
Well, then let's give them more of that.
Mm-hmm.
And they went up again. And guess what? When the ratings go up, what happens to my pocket, my wallet? It gets bigger. Bread. It gets fatter.
More bread.
So you told me you wanted it as a fan. So I gave it to you as an entertainment company, because that's what the E stands for in ESPN, if you didn't know. That's what I gave it to you as a company. And now you're mad that the media company that you told what to play and paid them give it to you. Now that you're mad that that's what they're doing.
That's exactly what they're doing. You created this monster, and now this monster.
And now you're mad.
Yeah. Now this monster is tearing up everything. In fact,
Like I sewed Frankenstein's body together.
Yeah.
I gave him life,
Mhm.
and now I'm mad that he's tearing down the village.
Yeah, become the monster that he's become.
That's I did it.
You're the one who put them together. But with that being said, I mean, let's be clear.
Keep talking.
Yeah, I'm with you, Tone. With that being said, we're talking about a conglomerate here, which is ESPN. We're talking about how this thing, First Take, for example, and when it comes to debating, because that's what we're doing. And in fact, what we're doing is we're enhancing what they did, because this is the future right here. What we're doing. This is the future. If you've noticed, we see a lot more podcasters on TV today than we have in the past. And the reason why we see more podcasters on TV is because I feel like there's a shift that's happening right now where people who know basketball and former players who have an opinion that's solid, they seek them out.
It doesn't have to be solid.
But
let's be honest.
But they seek them out, right?
Yeah.
And with that being said, I feel like we're in a great position to enhance that, because I can tell you right now, Tone, there's plenty of these guys that I see, that I listen to, that I'm thinking to myself, you could do a better job at analyzing the game. You could do a better job of talking the game, because you and I, before we even got started, this is exactly what I was talking about. We talked about James and Jordan, which I don't mind having a James Jordan conversation. I don't think that there's anything else that can be said that hasn't already been said about James and Jordan. I think that we've kind of
no one's mind is changing.
Yeah, I think that.
Although it's interesting, it is interesting that people bring up stuff.
Yeah,
and we'll say, like, this is old, but I remember people doing the whole Havlicek and Jordan, right? 8-0 and da-da-da. And I'm like, that information has been around for 25 years.
Just so you know, it didn't just happen.
It's not new. Like, there's no new information.
Havlicek's been retired for 40 years.
Right?
Like,
it drives me. There's a reason we've never talked about Havlicek as an all-time great.
Havlicek's been retired for 40 years. So, but the point that I was making with that is with us talking about James and Jordan, which is a hot button issue, and I understand that, but there's so many other things going on in the league today that are good. That's good with basketball. Like, we have a Boston Celtic team that may repeat, Tone. That hasn't been done since the 60s. We have Jason Tatum.
Okay.
We have a Boston Celtic team that may repeat this season. That hasn't been done since the 60s.
The Celtics haven't repeated.
Right.
Yes.
We have Jason Tatum making first team All-Pro for the fourth straight year.
Yeah.
Russell didn't do that. We have the Celtics maybe repeating this year. Bird didn't do that. So, like, these are storylines that we could be talking about more than James is better than Jordan. Jordan is better than James. Not that that's not important.
But they don't want to talk about it, because when I say, so I posted on TikTok a clip from one of the debates that we did on Player's Choice, where I said, guys, I've been saying, people always say, you're one of those dummies who thinks the 90s was the greatest era. And I'm like, no, I'm just smart enough not to have to not to have to say anything negative about the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, to also say my favorite era is this one. The last 10 to 15 years has been the best basketball I have seen. And I put that out there. And all the people are like, I disagree. Oh, you've lost your credibility. Why are you saying that? And I'm like, because I watched the game.
Yeah.
And I respect the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s for what they were. But also I understand that not all of them, like when you bulk a whole 10 years together, there's so many different things that happened in that decade that I'm just like, no, the game changed even throughout that 10 years. Like the 2000s, I always say that's two separate eras, because 2000 to 2004 was the introduction of the zone, the introduction of the defensive 3 seconds. And they still had big men playing. They were kind of phasing them out of the game, though. Like those guys were phasing out, right? They were getting older. And then in 2004, they completely, and this is why I always say they completely abolish hand checking. And then it becomes the freedom of movement era. We go away from the big man, because the big man now can't just stand there and block shots. So they have to get more mobile. And to do that, at that point, because big guys weren't practicing that type of game, they go smaller, and you can actually see the average height in the NBA goes down. And then they found guys, or as they're younger, they're giving them more skills as big men, and now they're able to have more movement, and they bring them back in, and it goes up again, the average. My point being, that was actually two different styles of play if you look at 2000, 2004, and then 2005 to 2009. My point is this: I say that it's the best, and what does everybody say? Oh, that this era sucks. All they do is shoot threes. No. While I admit the last 3 years have probably shot a little too much on the threes, and it's certain teams. If I look at the averages, the average team doesn't shoot like the Celtics. They don't, right? That happens to be how the Celtics work. But when I look at the passing, the ball handling, the movement, the teamwork, the everything that happens overall, I've said this before, we've never had an era where there's so many potential superstars ever. So you have that many good, talented players, where a guy as skilled and as incredible as Trae Young can't make an all-star team.
It's this big, by the way. Yes.
Is he little?
Yes. Small dude.
But he can't even make an all-star team. That tells you how good it is. So when you want to pick, oh, it's soft, they don't play defense, they shoot too many threes. Sure. 100%. Well, I could also do that about the 90s. Well, they didn't shoot enough threes. Their defense was kind of bruising and slow paced. They left guys open all the time because they dared them to shoot, because that's not was part of the game. Okay, so there, all they were doing is clutching and grabbing. So I can pick on those things, but instead, I'm smart enough to say, no, I like this game because I watch it and it's free flowing and it's moving, and I think it's really hard. I've told you this before. Really hard to defend on the perimeter when you have so many rules stopping you. I actually wish they would bring back some hand checking. I think it would change it up. And so much space. And I said, and I can also appreciate the slowdown era of the 2000s. I can appreciate the 90s, where it was like, hey, we were playing. Just think about it. The way every team was constructed in the 90s, a point guard was passing. A shooting guard was a scoring guard and scored. The small forward did a little bit of everything. The power forward was a rebounder and a defender, and the center was a rebounder and a shot blocker. And that's how we built the team. That's it. That was the way to win. And in most cases, we put it into the big man or some type of way to get it. We worked inside out. That was the philosophy, and it worked. And it's a copycat league, so everybody copied it. So is it bad basketball? No, it's different basketball.
It's just different basketball. And to your point, I think we live in a time which I think is really interesting, because we 100% live in a copycat league. 100%. That's why the long ball is what it is today. The Boston Celtics won the NBA championship. Just so you know, Tone, they shoot more than half their shots at the long ball line. As a team, more than half of their shots are at the long ball line. When I think about the game changing from 2025 to 2012, it actually has changed from 2020 to 2025. It's not the same.
No,
it's completely different 100%. From the last 5 years.
Yes,
it's completely different from the last 4 years. We have more threes. We have more of a variation in terms of offense. When I look at the Boston Celtics, how they move the basketball, how they use Jason Tatum in their offense. Not only how they use Jason Tatum in their offense, how they mismatch hunt, how they switch. The Cavs, which is a prime example of modern basketball, where what they do is they introduce the long ball, and in addition to introducing the long ball, they also play pick and dive. So they give you the long ball, which is in 2025, but they also give you Stockton and Malone. They're the best pick and dive team in the league. And and that's one of the main reasons why they are as good as they are. I know that I can't live in 1994 anymore. Tone, that was 30 years ago. I can't live there anymore. That's not what the game is.
No,
and
you
when
could try.
No.
And if you won, there would be more teams that tried it. But
not the way.
What do we know? This is what we know for a fact. In the last 15 years, the team that has shot more threes, not hit more threes, shot at a higher percentage. The team that took more threes has won the NBA final in all but 2 years.
That took more.
Whether they shot a higher percentage or not. The one that took more, and the two anomalies are super close. Like, I mean, it's a difference of 2 or 3. So they basically shot the same. Well, guess what? They look at analytics. That's one of the analytics, and they say, hey, look, if you shoot a bunch of threes.
Where did this start, though, Tone? Like, how did we get here? How did we get to a team that's shooting 51 threes a game as a team on average? That doesn't include the nights when we got it going and we shoot 60.
Because there's
like, how did we get here?
There's a mathematician out there who, again, never takes into account free throws and fouls, who said if you shoot 30% from three and you shoot 100, that's 90 points.
Sure.
And if you shoot 45 of 100 twos, and maybe it's 35%, whatever the number is, 40, if you shoot 50% from two, so it's 50 out of 100, that's 100 points. So let's say it's 35%. So 35%, it's 108 points versus 100 points. Well, then you're better off shooting more threes.
2 plus.
Like, now I'm
sounds like
oversimplifying it.
I was about to say that sounds like 2 plus 2. 3 is more than 2.
Yeah, 3 is, but that is a lot of the times what they say is 3 is more than 2. And I've always combated it with, you want to have a balance because you want to be able to shoot the 3, but also I know that if I shoot within 10 feet, right, 15% of those are getting fouled on. Now I can put the team into, foul trouble, and I get to the free throw line, and there's other parts of the game that there's no algorithm that can calculate that. And so that's where I think we run into a bit of an issue, is that, well, how do we balance that? Because right now it's a whole lot of numbers to say 3 is more than 2. And let's be honest, teams have tried it. I always say this. Do you know what team led the league in field goals attempted and field goals made, both for the season, and won an NBA championship? It's only ever happened twice.
The team has
shot the most and hit the most.
Not at the long ball line, just shot.
No. Yes. At the long ball line. 3. Yes, I'm talking about 3-pointers. Shot the most and hit the most in the regular season, and went on to win an NBA championship. Only has happened twice in the history.
I think the Celtics did it last season. The 23-24 Celtics, I think they did it. And let's see. If I think about a team shooting the long ball like that, it wasn't the Golden State Warriors. And I know that sounds crazy to a lot of people, but it wasn't the Golden State Warriors.
It wasn't. You're right.
No, it wasn't the Golden State Warriors to win the NBA championship. Was it Dallas?
So I'm going to tell you, I don't know about last year's. I got to check last year's Celtics. I got to find out who led the league. But prior, so I'm going to leave that one out because I'm not sure. But the 2 teams I'm talking about, looks like Wootage got one of them in the chat. The 94 Rockets and the 95 Rockets. Back to back. They did it back-to-back seasons. So people didn't actually copy that. However, Phoenix shot a ton of threes. A ton of threes.
Yes, they did.
In fact, Quentin Richardson shot like 8.2, 8.4 threes per game. And it was like 8 years later that Steph got that high. But they shot a bunch of threes and they won in the regular season, didn't win in the playoffs.
For the record, Tone, that Phoenix Suns team, this was at the height of
the Mike D'Antoni.
At the 8 seconds or less. And I know this may sound ridiculous to a lot of people, but they were leading the league in threes and they were shooting 25 a game.
Yeah, right.
They were leading the league,
and people were saying they're nuts.
Yes, and this was at the height of the 8 seconds.
Then the Rockets did it, and then what happened? Where it started was then Mark Jackson obviously gets moved, and they bring in Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr gives Clay and Steph the green light. Not only do they hit a bunch of threes, they win a championship, and people go, "Oh, well, that's a lot easier to do than some of these other things." This is why I always say Steph is the guy that ruined it for everybody, because everyone thought, "Oh, I can shoot all these threes and I can make it to the NBA."
No, you can't.
No, you can't.
Can't do that.
Can't do it. But that team philosophy, and then it's like, okay, well, let's start doing it. And then again, you start to get the data. Teams that shoot more threes win more games. The teams that in the NBA Finals that shot the most threes win the series. Yep. Well, then that's what I'm going to copy.
Of course you are, and I think that in the next 5 years from today, you and me sitting here today, 5 years from now, the game's going to be different again, because I feel like the game has changed so much, and the fact that we get wrapped up in meaning. I'm not going to say meaningless. Meaningless isn't the word I'm looking for, because it's important to discuss the history of the game, but I don't want the actual game to go by the wayside, because again, Tone, the 2025 season, 2024-25 season is one of the best seasons that I have ever seen.
Mhm.
We got a guy in the league, Tone, that's averaging 30 and 12, and we don't hardly talk about him. His name is Giannis Antetokounmpo. We don't hardly talk about him at all. We got a guy in the league that's having one of the best seasons, best offensive seasons in NBA history in Joker.
Right.
We have a kid in the league today in SGA that's averaging 35-5 and 2 steals. Jordan, Dwayne Wade did that. Curry, James Harden, and Jordan did that in the season and won the league MVP. That's what's going on in today's
now.
game.
Yeah.
Right? That's what's going on in
And we're
today's
still
game.
saying it sucks.
And we talk.
And sorry if I may, and I'm sorry, I'm probably going to lose a bunch of followers on TikTok when someone clips this. Anyone who thinks today's NBA sucks isn't watching. You're not watching,
You're not.
And in that case, you shouldn't have an opinion.
No, you shouldn't.
Right? Because everyone says, "Oh, this person doesn't deserve to have an opinion." No, everybody deserves to have an opinion if you're watching. Now, if you say I don't watch anymore because, that's fine.
Right.
No
But
problem.
don't tell me it sucks.
But don't tell me it's just okay.
Don't tell me that.
No, don't tell me that.
Don't tell me
And
it
FYI,
sucks.
yes, you're right. So there is now a third team, Boston Celtics last year.
Yes.
And they're
Boston
doing
last
it again
year.
this year. So if they win again, it'll be the Houston in back-to-back seasons and
Yeah,
Boston in
the
back-to-back
Celtics
seasons.
in back-to-back seasons. How about that, man? And I feel like where we are now, I think the NBA is in a damn good place. I don't appreciate the disrespect that older players have on the league today and how they talk about the league today. Because
I don't blame them.
I do, Tone, and the reason why I do blame them, I blame them because it was somebody who showed it to you. Now I understand that you wasn't getting the kind of money that a lot of these guys are getting coming in, and you probably weren't getting paid. You probably weren't getting paid what a lot of these guys are getting paid today, but you were getting money. I mean, Chris Webber signed. I think Chris Webber
for the time.
Yeah, Chris Webber. I think Chris Webber in '93. I think he signed like a $70 million deal, $75 million deal when he first came in. Big Dog Robinson in '94. I think he signed almost $100 million deal.
But why I don't blame them is, well, you didn't blame LeBron for protecting his son, right? So why am I going to blame these guys who are constantly being told their era sucked? They had no skill, no athleticism, no ability. It was unwatchable basketball. And now you want them to speak highly about the current state of the NBA when everybody in the current state said that era sucked? When you have a guy like Ant saying Michael Jordan was the only one that had any skill. Well, how disrespectful is that to 400 NBA professional basketball players when you say one guy had skill?
I'm on record saying, and maybe this might get clipped, maybe somebody might pay attention to it. I'm on record saying this about Anthony Edwards. Clyde Drexler would have bust your ass.
There you go.
Clyde Drexler would have.
You've got what's his name? Was it Rich Paul saying that Kuzi was great for his time, but what would Kyrie Irving do in that time? You know what Kyrie Irving would do in that time? Nothing. They wouldn't let him play. First of all, but second of all, it's these damn time machine arguments that drive me nuts.
Why, Tone?
Because you can't say I'm going to get 50 years of knowledge and rule changes, and then I'm going to transport back in time and take all of that with me. And I've always said, okay, so give me an iPhone, show me how it's built, because I have no idea. Show me how it's built.
And then you go back to 1995.
And then I can go back to 1980 and say, hey, I have this great idea. I'm going to build the cellular phone and the cellular network, and I'm going to create Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. And they're going to be like, you're crazy. You're a witch. You're a wizard. And I'm going to be a multi-trillionaire.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, duh. So if Kyrie Irving went back and was born in 1940 and played in 1960 as a 20-year-old and wasn't allowed to touch the sides of the ball, not even now, just think about it. They do this, they touch the bottom. Not even allowed. So forget the bottom. Not even allowed to. So he has to dribble like this.
Right.
Okay. And I challenge him to go do with none of the knowledge, none of the video footage, and the rule where you have to dribble like this on top. Okay. And go do what Bob Cousy did, which was watch the Globetrotters, steal a bunch of ideas. Let's be honest. Let's call it. Be honest.
Yes, that's what
okay.
happened.
But even the Globetrotters were doing this because they had no rules. It was the Globetrotters. And now Cousy's like, oh, I really like that move. Let me see if I can do that. And he's going behind the back and doing this stuff when he couldn't only to. I challenge a player today to just do this and do all the same moves.
Yes.
Never going to happen.
Nope.
And so when you disrespect that player, well, now I get it. Bob Cousy's 197 now, but I would expect Bob Cousy to say, well, F you. I expect Chris Webber to say F you.
Yeah.
And part two of that is, so you poo-pooed my era, so I'm going to poo-poo yours. Fair is fair.
I didn't think about that.
And then the second part is, why does a guy like your friend Gilbert Arenas get paid? Because he says outlandish things, by the way, that contradict himself. That's why they never let me on Player's Choice Playback with Gilbert Arenas, because they know I'll call him out. I'm talking to you, Gil. He's gonna say outlandish stuff that sometimes contradicts other things that he said, but people go, oh, he said, clip that. Ooh. And guess what happens? Here's that money. Here's that money. So not only am I protecting my era because you poo-pooed on mine, I'm gonna poo-poo on yours, but they're paying me to say stuff. Look, I'm gonna call out Tim Hardaway too. Tim Hardaway Sr. said, I keep it a buck. I tell the truth. And then came out and talked about a game. Halliburton. He came out and talked about a game when LeBron was a teen playing in Chicago. And it's like, no, you're saying, listen. And now all of a sudden, I'm not saying it's because he came on our show, but he came on our show, talked with us, and now he's everywhere talking to everybody.
He is.
And good for him, as
100%.
he should.
Yes.
But
that was great too that he came on our show too. Thanks, Tim Hardaway.
I appreciate you, and I text you.
Absolutely,
we'll have that conversation.
No doubt.
He was very nice when I saw him in Detroit. But anyways, that's besides the point. My point is, well, if they're going to pay you and put you on to say this stuff, then you're going to do it.
Now
you're going to do it because
Tono. So are we in it? So
if I may, just last thing.
Yep.
Even me. Go to my TikTok page. If you looked at my TikTok page, what is it? It's defending the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, and pointing out what's wrong with today's game and today's player. Because if you look at my inbox, if you look at my DMs, it's 1,000 things saying how today's the best and everything else sucked, and like one that says today sucks and yesterday's was great.
Right.
So guess what I'm going to respond to? The 1,000, not the one.
Of course. I get that, but Tone,
and it's not how I feel.
Right.
I've told you what is happening.
We got a spammer in the chat.
Do we have mods anymore?
No,
is that not a thing anymore?
Not that I'm aware of, but yeah, we got it.
Okay,
we got
you
a
do
spammer
that.
in the
I'm gonna
chat.
lean over the table.
But I think we're in a space. My grandmother told me this when I was a kid, and I've said this to you countless times, Tone, that my grandmother had a 6th grade education, quite possibly the smartest woman that I've ever met. She said it's real easy to call me dumb when you already got the answers to the test.
Yeah.
It's real easy to do that.
Yes.
That doesn't mean that you know what's going on. You just got the answers to the test. That's all it is. So I'm only able to do what I'm able to do. Right. That's it. So when I watch Kyrie Irving handle basketball, when I watch Kenny Anderson handle basketball, Nate Tiny Archibald, Isaiah Thomas, some of the best ball handlers, Rod Strickland. When I see these guys handling the basketball the way that they do, I'm thinking to myself, okay, they're allowed to do that. That's why they are as good as they are.
They're allowed to do it in 2 ways. They're allowed to do it by the rules,
sure,
and by their coaches.
Yes.
Because Kenny Smith did say, we all did those things
yes.
on the playground.
Yes.
Our coaches would have benched us if we did it in a game.
100%. So I'm only allowed to do what I'm allowed to do. So when I have Bob Cousy, who is only allowed to dribble the basketball like this, does that mean he can't do those other things? No, that doesn't mean that he can't do those other things. In fact, we've seen the Globetrotters have been around for over 100 years, and that's where he learned it. Right. But I can't bring this into the NBA, because if I brought this into the NBA, that's that street ball, that's that cage of logic. We don't want that in here. You're not going to do that here. When in reality, that's the future of the game.
In fact, they said it was so bad that And One started a league where they encouraged it because the NBA wouldn't allow it.
Yep.
And guess what's happening?
Now it's going on.
Now it's happening.
Now it's going on.
Like I remember at an All-Star game, Isaiah doing this thing where he slides and does what Curly Neal was doing in the 60s,
in the 50s,
and he does the one finger dribble.
Yes,
it's like they just wouldn't allow it. But there you have it.
I think we're in a space to what Rich Paul said. I think we're in a space, man, where we have to just. That's why I still got Wilt Chamberlain in my top 5. You and I go back and forth with this all the time. That's why I got Bill Russell in my top 5. Because what I'm not going to do is I am not going to forget what these guys did, even though I don't live there anymore.
Right.
I don't live there anymore. That stuff happened 50, 60 years ago. But I can tell you right now, what was going on and what they did, that will not be forgotten by me. But
you don't have to disrespect your ex just because you're with your new one.
no, that's not the way that works, yo. I mean, when we broke up, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't like, we.
Now, if it was, that's different.
That's right, but it wasn't like that when we broke up.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
it was not like that. So with that being said, when I think about what happened back then, I don't want people to look at me in particular. I don't want people to look at me and go, yo, you're an old head. You haven't evolved. Yes, I have. You guys know how I feel about Jason Tatum. I love that kid.
Yeah.
I think he is fantastic. Yes.
Yeah, I think you overrate him, but yeah,
yes,
you do.
a lot of y'all do. He sometimes, he gives me stomach pains, but y'all know how I feel about him. I love that kid. Y'all know how I feel about how good of a ball handler Kyrie Irving is. I think he's the best that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Plenty of these guys. Joker is fantastic. I'm on record saying I think Joker ate Alonzo more than lunch. I'm saying that.
I'm on record as saying Jokic might end up surpassing almost every center, if not all of them, if he keeps this up.
And I'm telling you right now, Tone, if you think about
and center's the toughest position.
That's what I was about to ask you, Tone. If you think about the point, the two, the swing,
the center.
The five might be the toughest
75 years. This is the 75th anniversary, by the way. Do your math. 49-50 was the first NBA season. 75 years in almost every season. Almost, not always, but there's exceptions. The NBA, in the majority of those 75 years, has been focused around a center.
Yes.
Right? If you look at, there's no other position where you can say, when it started, Mikan was a great center. Russell was a great center. Pettit was a great center. Wilt was a great center. Kareem was a great center. Shaq was I know I skipped a bunch. Moses. Yes. Oh yeah, Moses. Dikembe Mutombo.
Jack Sigma.
There's the list goes
Bill
on.
Walton. I know how you feel about Bill Walton, but
no, before his years that he was there's never another position where every single grouping you can say there was a great.
Right.
None. If you look at the top of any, listen, it's super easy. Small forward, you're easy. You're like, oh, it's LeBron, it's Bird, it's
KD,
but
Pippen, Doc.
But no offense, there's a drop off after LeBron and Bird, and that's no disrespect to KD and Pippen, but
I do.
But yeah, and then I look at shooting guard. Yep. Well, it's Jordan, it's Kobe. And then we're talking. There's a drop off, right? There's a separation there.
Separation
right?
between Wade and
point guard.
And
again, regardless of the position, but point guard, you're going to go Magic, Curry, if you consider him a point guard, and then old people will say, okay, West, big Isaiah, Oscar. But again, probably no one's saying anything that I'm hearing other than Magic and Curry.
Right.
So that means there's a drop off. Power forward, Duncan.
Yep.
KG?
I think it's Malone. But
Malone?
Yeah.
Okay. I got to show you a stats about Malone. I don't know if we're going to have time to do it on this show, but then again, it's a drop-off. There's two or three. Center? Are you kidding me? We could fight all day. Kareem, Wilt, Russell, Shaq, like just bang, bang, bang.
Olajuwon.
Now Jokic, Olajuwon. Oh, I forgot how bad that is that I forgot Olajuwon was the best two-way player maybe ever, and I forgot him. So just like that, it's like there's 10 and there's no drop off.
None.
You could argue 10 is 1, 1 is 10.
That's
so what we're living in is an era where we have a center who's putting himself in that conversation.
Yes.
Damn.
Well, if he was if he were to win the league MVP this year, that would be 4 and 5 years. If you think about if you think about the league in terms of winning the league MVP. How many guys have won the league MVP 4 times? Let's see. James has won it 4 times. Chamberlain has won it 4 times. Russell has won it 4 times. Jordan has won it 4 times. That's it. And Jabbar, I'm sorry. And Jabbar has won it
6 times.
Yeah, and Jabbar has won it 4 times.
Yeah.
4 plus.
4 or more. Yeah,
4 or more times. Let's see. Who else has won it that many times or more? That's it.
Well, we're about to have another one.
Right.
And it's another center, by the way.
That's it.
Yeah.
So if Joker would have won the league MVP this season for the 4th time in 5 years, like what kind of conversation are we going to have about him? How do we talk about
We're really
him?
going to struggle with this title conversation, though. Because 1 ring, we're going to have that conversation.
And we are,
Tom. It's going to come.
We 100% are. And that's what
we got to rapid fire some of these. So here we go. The Detroit Pistons.
Mhm.
I'm going to call them my Detroit Pistons. They're my Eastern team now. Sorry, Toronto. The Pistons just treat me better when I go to the arena. You guys are jerks. Are the favorites to land Devin Booker?
I love Devin Booker.
Is
in
that
Detroit.
a good thing or a bad thing?
Yeah, I love Devin Booker in Detroit. If you think about him at 28, he's still in his prime. The Miami Heat got Jimmy Butler at 29 years old, and they got 5 great seasons out of him. This Cade Cunningham kid, who for all intents and purposes,
Are you thinking he slides in next to Cade instead of
yes.
Ivy?
Yes.
Okay.
If they have an opportunity to get booked, yes. Because now what that does is that increases their odds of winning now.
Well,
And
that changed the timeline
100%.
significantly.
The timeline gets so now with Cade being an All-Pro, who I think he's going to make the All-Pro team, with Devin Booker, and now with the backcourt with the front court that you have,
Thompson,
yes.
Duren,
So now, and remember too, Tone, Detroit had some downtime.
Sure.
They 100% did, because if it wasn't for your goddamn Toronto Raptors, I would have seen 40 straight losses. That would have happened.
You didn't get it, man.
No, I didn't. But anyway, the Detroit Pistons do have tradition.
Yeah.
They've won the NBA championship.
Yeah.
They've been to the NBA championship a number of different times. And to get Devin Booker on that roster with Cade Cunningham,
I think that would be a huge win.
wow, that would be a huge win for them, Tony.
And I like it. Next one up was, that's why it was interesting. You said outside of the Lakers. So you didn't tell me that part. Give me the Bucks all-time starting 5 against any franchise in NBA history. So their starting 5 would be Oscar Robertson, Sidney Moncrief, Ray Allen, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
And
so outside of the Lakers.
So Tony and I had a conversation about the best the starting 5, the best franchises. And he said the Lakers, and he said it nonchalantly. And then I'm thinking about who they had. Then Tone mentioned their second unit, and I'm thinking, holy shit. And so like he ran off Magic, Bryant,
I missed. Can I? I'm just going to read you a
Please.
random list. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Magic, Kobe, Kareem, Shaq, West.
That's stop right there. That's just they starting 5.
Yeah, sure.
That's just they starting 5. This ain't their second unit.
Yeah. So hold on. Now there's 5. Here we go. Chamberlain,
Oh my God.
Baylor, Worthy, LeBron, Mikan.
Stop right there. Tone, what are we doing?
Hold on. Let me give you the third.
You got a
5.
third team?
Pau Gasol, Anthony Davis, Michael Cooper, Gail Goodrich, Byron Scott, Derek Fisher,
My God.
James Wilkes, Robert, like
Jamal Wilkes. I mean,
and I'm sure I'm missing.
yikes. So like we got to
It's
take
not fair.
No, it's not. We got to take
my
them
God.
out. So if we got to take the Lakers out, because it's not even a question with the Lakers. Because even with the Celtics,
And let's just be clear. I know they didn't play their best basketball.
Yeah.
But let's not forget, like, I know it was one season, but barring that injury, Karl Malone had a really good season with the Lakers.
if he doesn't hurt his knee, they win the NBA championship. That year.
Yeah.
I'm
Gary
convinced of
Payton wasn't still Gary Payton, but Gary Payton played for they're still even
They would have won the NBA championship that year. Malone didn't
Dwight
take it.
Howard, Steve Nash. Like there's a lot
That's like they 4th to 15. Like, give me a break. What are we doing?
Okay, so outside of the Lakers,
right.
can we find and we got like 2 minutes.
I know we don't have a lot of time. So with that being said, I was thinking maybe the Celtics, because I'm thinking,
but the Celtics really just that. Well, no. I think it's a combination of like the 60s and maybe the 80s, right? So you're looking Russell, Bird,
Kuz,
Havlicek, Paul Pierce, KG. No, you could put you could, if just starting 5, you put Russell and KG and Bird as your 3, 4, 5.
Bird at the 3,
Yeah.
Russ at the 5,
KG
Bird
at the 4. Yeah.
Russ at the 3. Does KG go ahead of McHale?
Yes. Yeah. I'm a big KG fan.
I am too.
Like
I am too.
I have KG like knocking on Tim Duncan's door of being the greatest power forward ever.
Yeah.
And I think he gets a bit of a raw deal because of those years in Minnesota.
Right. Which nobody talks about, and it makes me nuts because y'all see him on this podcast with Paul Pierce, and you forget there should be a statue of KG outside the arena in Minnesota.
Yes.
He was up there for 12 years. He wasn't up there for 2 or 3 years. He was up there for 12 years. But anyway, I digress. This Boston Celtics, that Boston Celtics, because I was thinking about Philly, and then I thought, Doc, Moses, So Allen Iverson,
Barkley.
Hal Greer, Doc, Barkley, Chamberlain.
Who'd you put him? Oh, Chamberlain. Yeah, I forgot about Chamberlain.
Chamberlain played in
Yeah,
Philly.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm thinking about that crew, and Moses will be behind Chamberlain on the second unit. But then I was thinking about the Celtics, and I'm thinking about Kuz. Tony, I'm having a difficult time putting a dude in Sam Jones off the crew that he's on that finals team for 10 straight years, yo. I'm having,
And that's the problem. Even Havlicek is going to be off that team.
yes, and he's a rotation. He was a rotation guy for like 3 years
For a while, yeah,
right.
but
He was a rotation guy.
Boy. Okay, we're out of time. But if you had to pick a team, who would it be?
The Celtics.
Celtics. Okay.
Yes.
I'm gonna go with the Bucks. I like Big O, and you put Big O, Kareem, and Giannis in there. I'm good. Let's do the super chat. We were talking about Cooper Flag possibly going back to Duke.
Yep.
But you know what? March Madness is kicking off, so we can talk about that
Sure.
next week.
Do we have a super chat?
We have a super chat, and I hate
Okay.
doing this. I'm sorry, I don't have. But
We have
Rock.
a super chat.
Rock, what's it? Rock out Deuce. Can you read it?
Yes, I can.
All right.
Rock Out Deuce said, Ja looking real comfortable right before the playoffs. And
We haven't talked about Ja at all this season.
no, we haven't. And I think that one of the main reasons why is because he hasn't been as dynamic, and he's done that by choice.
Yeah.
Because I think Ja's trying to preserve himself. And I think somebody got in his ear, hey, listen, Tone, you can't keep playing like this. Getting slammed to the floor, being the high wire act that you are. You can't do that, because I can tell you right now, you're not going to last long if you play like this.
Yeah.
You got to change your game. And he became more of a distributor. And I think his jump shot was affected by that, because I think that one of the main reasons why he was able to get to the rim like he was able to get to the rim was because of his jump shot. And I think that he now has to rely on that more. And I think that his jump shot is suffered because of that.
We're out of time.
We are.
The studio is going to lock us in or out. I'm not even sure. Sadly, next week we'll be back in our little square boxes. I'm going to reach over the table for one more time because I don't know, because we're doing things a little bit different. Take the super chat off. My man, it's a pleasure.
Yo,
it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
It's the second time
we're gonna do this again.
Yes, we are.
And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show clips from this one, and the last time we did this, because last time we did it, we were on a boat.
Yes, we were.
I feel like that Step Brothers boats and hope. But we out. We will see you next week.
Same time.
Same time, different place.
Yes,
I will say stay fluent, my friends. And Jay, as always, I'm gonna let you take it away.
Absolutely, man. It's good to see you guys. You know where to find us. We will see you guys soon. Until then, put on a suit, drink water, don't drink and drive. Hey, man, call your mother. When's the last time you talked to your mother? Call your mother. We will talk to you guys soon. But until then, take it light. We take it. Absolutely, man. It was good to see you guys. No question about it. This was dope, man.
Put on a suit, drink water, don't drink and drive. Hey, man, call your mother.
It means nothing. It means nothing.
Nah, they lying to you. It's about the money.
Now you're more fluent.